Hello Internet, I am Katie and welcome to my channel. This is my first video and I'm super excited. It's going to be awesome. So I'm a college student, I'm 18 years old. I go to Miami University in Ohio, thus the sweatshirt, even though it's backwards because my MacBook flips things when I video them. So the reason I wanted to start this channel is because being an active member of the LGBT community and having gone through, a lot of kind of self exploration periods and trying to figure myself out. I was really confused a lot of the time. And, when this stuff first started to kind of fall on me, one of the first things I did to try and work through that was to go on YouTube. Because I said, there's got to be some people who feel the same way I do. And I want to hear their perspectives. Maybe they can help me. Maybe they know what's going on more than I do. Um, and so I kind of wanted to try and do the same thing for people. As I'm starting to kind of come into myself, I suppose, I really wanted to try and be a resource for other people and kind of put myself out there more and talk to more people. And also, this is kind of a, I guess, a video diary from me, because I thought it would be a cool way to kind of record how I'm moving through this process and all that jazz. So I guess I'll start by more formally introducing myself. As I said, my name is Katie. I'm 18. This all stuff sort of all started by, like most queer folks, I figured out that I was not heterosexual sometime in high school, and I went through a lot of labels. I came out as bisexual, and then I went by pansexual for a while, and then I came out to my parents as lesbian, and then more recently I was feeling sort of lesbian, and I kind of haven't been really content with any of the labels, and so for the most part right now I just call myself queer. um, as non-committal as that sounds, I just think that it is the most comfortable term for me, um, because it encompasses, I think, like it encompasses all that I needed to encompass. Lesbian or bisexual or anything, I felt like it wasn't entirely true. Like it excluded some people who I wouldn't exclude as far as, who I'd like to date. But yeah, there's that. And then the way this blog came about, vlog, was that for a while now, and for a while being like the past year and a half, I have been sort of more or less identifying as genderqueer. But at the time, when that first started happening and when I first started kind of coming into this, I was dating a guy and I was really nervous about how he'd take that because he was straight, and I'm like, well, a straight guy wants a girlfriend. So I didn't really talk to him about it. But recently, we're broken up now. Um, and recently, I've been thinking a lot more strongly about my gender identity. And also, I went to a national conference recently. It was in February. It was called Creating Change in Minneapolis. Um, and it was the first time where I really met so many like gender nonconforming people, and it really shattered my ideas of what I thought you had to be trans. Because before I was like, no, no, I can't be trans, because I thought a trans person was just someone who's going from one end of the binary to the other, and I wasn't that. Um, but the more people I've met, the more I've realized that there are so many different ways to be. Um, and so right now I'm kind of trying to figure out where I fit in all that. Um, so I'm identifying as genderqueer, and right now I'm kind of in the process of trying to figure out what I want to do with that. Um, you know, because I've been thinking about name changing and pronoun changing and binding and all that jazz. I don't know how far I'd go with it, but I feel like I might sort of start to explore that at some time, so be on the lookout. Um, but anyway, but for right now, um, I am Katie, and I am here. Yay. Another thing I wanted to do, um, sort of in a further attempt to be kind of a resource for people, is I wanted to read something I wrote the other day. I just kind of whipped it up. Because when I went to this conference that I mentioned earlier, um, we didn't actually have time to do it in the workshop, but there was one workshop where one of the things we were asked to do was to write a letter to a young queerling, as the guy called it. Um, and so to write a letter telling what we would say to someone who was, you know, younger, who was going through the same kind of things we were. Essentially kind of a younger version of ourselves. Um, and so I decided last night that I would whip something up for that, and I did. And I thought it was kind of cool, so I think I'll read it. So yeah, to all young queerlings. Wait. It says, "Hey you. You may not believe me, as I'm sure you've heard this 1,000 times before, but I know how you feel. It's difficult sometimes. Not only are you struggling to figure yourself out, you're struggling for recognition, for love. You may be wondering how in the world something so seemingly simple and taken for granted is so difficult for you. You're probably scared. And that's okay, because I'm scared too. I have learned many things during my life as a queer, one of which being that this life is difficult, and it doesn't necessarily get easier. But I've also learned that I have gotten stronger. I have begun to grow into the kind of person that I am actually interested in being, and have learned that I never would have gotten here without struggle. I have learned that it is okay to be confused, or to feel crazy, or to not have your identity figured out, or that your identity is never stagnant. I have learned to live this day only, and that, as lost as I feel now, eventually, I will be where I am supposed to be. But I think that the most important thing that I have learned is that I am loved. Sure, there have been people who don't understand me, and I have lost friends because of who I am. But at the end of the day, I have never ceased to be surrounded by people who care about me. And the same goes for you. No matter how weird you feel, I cannot tell you how many people you have. Maybe you haven't found them yet, but when you do, you will find an entire community, an entire network of people who love you for anything and everything you are. You will find people who want nothing more than to see you happy in your own way. And trust me, you will be. You just have to be strong in the meantime. Flipping pages. Anyway. And you may feel like you've gotten the short end of the stick sometimes, and I can understand that. Why should you have to keep paying for something that you never asked for? I've thought about that a lot. But the way I see it, you have been given a gift. You are something unique, and by nature of that uniqueness, you have learned to see the world in a different way. A more loving and accepting way. You have learned to be independent and strong, self-aware and honest. In short, the world needs more people like you. At a conference once, the same one I referenced before, I heard a speaker say that us queer people were almost like the chosen ones. It is our job to be the peacemakers and the advocates. It is us who have been forced to evolve clear minds and free spirits. It is our job to change the world. It's a big responsibility, that's for sure. But I, for one, am proud of that. So go ahead, be proud. And to those people who are mean to you, just remember, it's just because they suck and you have nice hair. A friend. Yay. That last line was totally stolen from my buddy Jack. I am not that cool, but I thought that there needed to be a little bit of levity at the end of my little letter there. But yeah, so that's all I have for this video, I think. If you have any questions, anything that you'd like me to address, talk about, muse over, any questions you have for me, that'd be fantabulous. But yeah, so comments are awesome, and I'll see you next time. Thank you very much.